So I'm going to start by asking you a question. What are the influences that maybe affect you the most when making a decision? Now, my students, I had them stop and think through, discuss, and then share. I guess if I stop this, you'll leave. I can't just pause with awkward silence. So I'll jump right into it. What my students shared were things like this, and I wonder if it's the same as you. What influences me? Well, it's how my friends are going to view me, what is going to make me happy, what is going to be easiest for me, what are my parents doing, what does society say it's right, what is going to give me the greatest benefit in the long run, what is going to have the least amount of consequences, what makes me the most money. These are the things they said are what influence them in the decisions that they make. Now, there's something that not a single one of my students in all 5 classes said influences their decision-making process. And that was evidence, truth. That what is right, wrong, what is true and false, what is actually evidentially proven, or there's good evidence to believe, affects the decisions that they make. I then took a step back and I said, okay, now knowing this is what I'm thinking, that evidence and truth should influence our decisions, where does that fall on the priorities that you look to when making decisions? And most admitted, pretty much near the bottom. Now here's the reason I asked this. The question came in on, okay, if non-Christians can study the Bible and can learn about God, why don't they believe in Him? And my short answer is, well, because often we do not make our decisions based on the evidence. We make our decisions based on what is going to make us most happy, most fulfilling, our lives easier, or how our friends are going to view us best. Not necessarily what we think is actually true. All right, in my classes, we cover a wide range of arguments for God's existence and the truth of Christianity, like God's the best explanation for the beginning of the universe, the design of our body, the fine-tuning of the universe, the existence of objective moral values, actually the existence of evil, the fulfilled prophecies of the Old Testament, the evidence for the resurrection of Jesus, the evidence from near-death experiences, the evidence of consciousness and a mind, the ontological argument. And those are about 10 that I could go over. And my question is, for the people who still say, I do not believe in God, I think God does not exist, how many of them actually have defeaters to those 10 arguments for God's existence and the truth of Christianity, or for a dualistic world, and actually have better evidence against the existence of God? I think that is a lower percentage than the other categories. And this question came up in a recent interview I did with Dr. Gary Habermas on the evidence for the resurrection. I asked him, if the evidence for the resurrection is so overwhelmingly powerful and historically confirmed by scholars of all views, why don't more people believe it? And his first answer is because we don't always believe something based on evidence. That's what we want people to think. That's what we want people to believe, is that we follow the evidence wherever it leads. But many beliefs and ideas that we hold to, we believe, not based on evidence, but because that's what we think is going to make life easier, or that is just the habit that we have ingrained in ourselves. I've said this many times. I've learned this from other places. I didn't come up with it. But there are 3 reasons why people reject Christianity. Intellectual reasons, volitional, they just want to do something different, and emotional. My personal opinion, I think the intellectual is on the bottom of the list as far as importance. Why is it that people can study theology, learn about God, and still do not believe in Him? Because often we're not making our decisions based on evidence. We want to be happy. Giving up part of our weekend, having to give up some of our money to the poor, having to put other people first rather than ourselves, having to admit I am sinful, I am fallen, I am broken, I need Jesus to help me. That's not the initial message that makes people feel the happiest. It's the inward-focused, selfish person desiring the happiness for themselves that ends up causing themselves to be separated from God for all eternity. And it's the outward-focused, humble person who submits their life to Christ and service of love to one another that ends up being an eternal happiness in the presence of Jesus Christ.